jobs for South Africans. The South Africans are the same ones who are now doing xenophobic attacks on your own citizens. And you say you are a government.
The majority of Lusaka is on top of a bedrock. This bedrock is an impermeable rock. That means water cannot penetrate through. This impermeable rock.
Who are here, all the MPs who are here, all the judiciary officers who are here, all eminent people who have benefited from forest number 27 to own up and give it back, because that's what the president said. In Kenya, some people were adventurous. They went and built on a water aquifer. President Uhuru Kenyatta showed leadership. Bulldozers went there, dropped them. Let me tell you now, everything that you're doing is an exercise in futility. On the first day of Mr. Hichilema being sworn in, we are coming to demolish those houses down there in 2021.
Member,
that's what's going to happen.
Take a seat. Take a seat.
When we come into power in 2021, we are coming with bulldozers to drop all the houses that you are building there at the aquifer. It is not enough. This place here where there's East Park was one of the water aquifers. It's destroyed. You can go and see there. You brought ShopRite in order to create jobs for South Africans. The South Africans are the same ones who are now doing xenophobic attacks on your own citizens. And you say you are a government.
The majority of Lusaka is...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another exciting episode of Z Corner. My name is Muna, and I am with my co-host, Sikufele Mnalula. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about a few interesting topics that have been making a lot of rounds here on social media and just pretty much around the country. So we're going to be talking about, or rather we are going to be rating Honorable Gary Nkombo's reign as local government minister. And we're also going to be talking about a few things happening in, or rather on the Copperbelt province, Chiwempala, and we're also going to be reviewing the latest banknotes. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are already aware of these amazing topics, and this is one of the reasons why I would like you to join us via call. So as you can see right over here, my name has got a phone number, so feel free to chip in and just basically be part of the conversation, because we want you to sort of be part of this program, because it is meant to be a very interactive platform where people can actually get one-on-one feedback and just basically stay in tune with what the population is, feeling at the moment. So to all the people who are watching us right now, kindly take 1 second of your life and share this video across all the groups that you belong to on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, take a moment and just hit the share button so that we can have bigger and broader conversations with a lot of people watching us. So Siku, hi, how are you?
Good evening, I'm fine. Had an interesting week. Hopefully you had a very productive week.
Yeah, it was a very productive week. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow will be Friday, and we're winding up on the week. It has been all good, and looking forward to resting during the weekend.
Are you sure today is Friday? Actually,
today is Friday. Isn't today Thursday?
No, today's Friday. Today's Friday.
Oh, damn. I'm probably one day behind. So anyhow, today is Friday, so people are obviously relaxing. Anyway, without a lot of wasting of time, so give us your rating of Honorable Gary Nkombo's reign as local government minister, because if you do remember, right, he said a lot of stuff while in opposition, So how would you rate his reign as local government minister?
First and foremost, I would like to start with what everybody's thinking. What's next for Gary Nkombo, and what is President Hakainde Hichilema thinking? Is this a strategy, or is there anything sinister in the background? Because Gary Nkombo, this is a termination that no one was expecting. Looking at him, who is a high-ranking member of the UPND government, and he did play his part. Obviously, a lot of people got to know him during the 2021 elections when he stood very bold, very he had that energy, and I think a lot of people just loved him because he was serious with what he was doing. He showed that he's a man of business, and we all got to love Gary Nkombo, the MP as well. That's he should be the MP for Mazabuka, and so his firing came in a bit as a shock, and there's been a lot of speculation on social media. There's been a lot of talk within the UPND and just the Zambian citizens at large. So it is quite an interesting topic when we look at it, because right now everybody or most people are just speculating. We're wondering, why was he fired? Was he corrupt as a local government minister? Is this a bigger strategy? Is there in-house fighting? Is he the next successor for President Hakainde Hichilema? So there are a lot of conversations, there are a lot of questions that are unanswered and are unknown at this particular time. And going back to his tenure as a Minister of Local Government, I personally think that, for lack of a better term, I think the president did him a good. I think he didn't. It didn't. The ministry did not suit him, because each time he went out, he was painted in bad light. So there's an incident where he went out in these areas called Nkombo, the rural areas, the rural parts of Lusaka, and he, together with the local councils, the local authority, were carrying out they were carrying out their duties to ensure that they stop kachasu manufacturing. So kachasu is locally brewed spirits. So he got a lot of backlash when he apparently told one of the perpetrators that they found brewing cachasu, which is illegal, by the way, to drink the cachasu, and it was being fumed. So there was a lot of public outrage, and a lot of people, didn't. He started losing his popularity, and so that's just one example of the many acts that I feel like, there were good acts, but because of the person who Gary Nkombo is, the Gary Nkombo that we loved, people started seeing him as a bad guy instead of a good guy. So I personally think that the greater things ahead for Gary Nkombo, and the Ministry of Local Government was a mismatch for him. Going back as well, there was an operation by the Lusaka City Council, obviously in collaboration with the local government, where they were cleaning up Lusaka. So there was an issue of booths, the mobile money booths. So they did their level best to remove the mobile money booth operators from certain areas in Lusaka, but it's another operation that was received with a lot of he seemed like a bad guy when he was doing that. So those incidences for me, I think they made him less popular, because now people started seeing him as a villain. So I was quite relieved when he was removed from the ministry, because I think that the ministry did not serve him justice.
So why do you feel a lot of people were sort of interested in his dismissal? Is it due to the fact that he played a very crucial role when UPND was in opposition, and a lot of people sort of were looking up to him to sort of have a very dramatic and very drastic change when it comes to a lot of things happening in Zambia. Like when he was appointed as local government minister, right? A lot of people were expecting him to have a major breakthrough with regards to how things are done in Lusaka. Obviously, a lot of people already understand that Lusaka experiences a lot of flooding, especially during rainy season, right? But it has been a couple of years since UPND has been in power, and him being local government minister, people were expecting a lot of different improvements, if I can put it that way. Do you think there's a little bit of underperformance, not only with regards to Gary Nkombo, but as UPND in general?
Firstly, as Zambians, a lot of Zambians, all the Zambians were very expectant of the UPND government. Speaking from a Zambian citizen's point of view. So obviously, people voted out the PF for hopes of a better economic outcome when it comes to Zambia, unlike what we were seeing or where we were going. So there was a lot of high expectations for the big man himself, President Hakainde Hichilema, and his cabinet. So we had a lot of high hopes. Now, it's quite interesting when we have this conversation because I think it's a broad conversation because there are things that the UPND said they were going to do, but are unable to do it right now. They're able to do most of the, let's say, 60-70% of the promises that they made. They haven't yet attained them. That's just my opinion. That's just my view. So I stand to be corrected. So as an observer and a Zambian citizen, there's a lot of things that people were promised: cheaper milli meal, cheaper fuel. They were promised a lot, but all these things have not been achieved. We did play a clip and of Honorable Gary Nkombo when he was in opposition. He was an MP only back then, and he was talking about very brilliant ideas. There was that clip where he talked about building dams that will channel to Kariba Dam and ensure that this issue of load shedding goes away. So fast forward to today, there's load shedding, and not just load shedding in the air, 1 hour, 2 hour, heavy load shedding. So people were very expectant. Now, I think the thing that we forget the most is, first of all, we are a landlocked country. Second, we are an African country. What do I mean by that? We live in the third world. So we want the development that we see on our gadgets, on the phones. When we look at American movies, when we see what China is about, when we talk about how technology is advancing, and etc., etc. So that, I feel, raises our expectations towards the individuals that vie for public offices. So I think we can learn from what's happening with the UPND because for lack of a better term, they have underperformed the past couple of years. Maybe if they're given another 5-year term, they will do better. But they have performed in terms of the key areas. And what are the key areas? So we're looking at the IMF loans that we've had. So we're looking at the date restructuring. So there, I think they have performed very well, and ensuring that there's development in the country, bringing in investors. The president calls himself, we call him the chief marketer of Zambia, and he has been going from one country to another in hopes of getting investors. And these trips, obviously, we can attest to the fact that on the copper belt in Zambia, mines that were not working, that were not performing, mines like Mopani Copper Mines, KCM, and other mines in Luancha are now operational. So definitely they have scored where it comes to bringing in investors, where it comes to sustaining employment and creating employment. When you look at the civil service, there's been massive recruitment where it comes to teachers, nurses. So they've had some wins, but like I said, we were over expectant of what they can do in 5 years. So going back to Honorable Gary Nkombo, I personally feel like it was a mismatch. The ministry that he was put in, it's a major ministry because all local authorities, all councils under him. So obviously, where it comes to development in different areas, different cities, passes through the councils. Where it comes to the CDF, it goes to the councils, the disbursement, and etc., etc. So it's a key ministry, but I don't think he was the right man to handle that.
All right, so that's a very good breakdown. So anyway, you raised very few very great points, as a matter of fact, when it comes to the expectations that a lot of Zambians have. Right now, we are interconnected via the interwebs. Everybody sees what's happening in other countries and the type of level of development, if I can put it that way. So when it comes to certain expectations, the youths are very, very judgmental, especially when it comes to the caliber of leadership that we have. And right now, if I can really, really be very honest with you, right, the life expectancy of politics in Zambia is really becoming lesser and lesser. A long time ago, it was very usual for a political party to remain in power for about maybe 15, 20 years. But this time around, it's very competitive because youths are definitely going to keep you accountable for your actions. Now, based on that particular hypothesis, right, do you perhaps think this is one of the reasons why we are beginning to experience a little bit of an uproar in places like Chiwempala? Because of late, there has been a lot of chaos with regards to Chingola, Chiwempala to be specific. Do you perhaps think right now the youths have got a mentality that really lets the people who are in power know that they are accountable for a lot of things and they just want to see results? So what do you make of the riots in Chiwempala and just the expectations of Zambian youths with regards to leadership?
It was the riots in Chiwempala were quite very interesting, by the way, because this is we're looking at Chingola. So where it comes to Chingola, a mining town, obviously it was a huge mining town back in the days, but right now there are very few mining activities that are there, and they're not as profitable as they used to be. So the mines, I earlier talked about mines that were not performing very well. So during the PF, KCM was grabbed from the initial investor, that was Vedanta. And there was this whole back and forth in the courts of law when the New Dawn government came in, and they tried to get the best deal in terms of ensuring that what the PF did, they did it legally and we were within the law, and just basically getting the best outcome. So we saw Vedanta come back at KCM, right? And now the issue with in Chingola was an issue of the Jerabos. So people that grew up on the copper belt, Jerabo is a small scale miner. I mean, right now it's a smart way of putting it. So Jerabo is a small scale miner. So the small scale miners were upset that they were not allowed to go to a dump site or allowed access to a dump site. Now, let me remind you, we had an incident where Jerabos or small scale miners were trapped, lives were lost, and it was a disaster in Chingola. So after that happened, I think there was a closure of, should have been Kasensedi, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'll remember the name of where that took place. So from there, things have been a bit interesting because it seems like the Jerabos were not allowed to go back to the dump sites and start their mining activities. So obviously the government is saying, guys, this is not safe. We've lost lives and we do not want more lives to be endangered. And on the other hand, you've got youths that don't have anything to do apart from going to the dump site and risking their lives to mine these copper ores or the leftover copper ores and make a quick buck. So it's quite an interesting situation because people are choosing to risk their lives even in a situation where I think a suitable outcome can be found. I think there's a lot of dialogue that needs to be done and a lot of sensitization that needs to be done because it's hard to try and say, oh no, but government, I'm a dump site, shani, because people are dying and it's evidence that people are dying. There've been crises, there've been people being buried. So it's a sticky situation. And I think because of over promising by politicians, now people feel like the youths are saying, guys, you promised us this. That's if they were promised that. So you promised us this, I'm assuming, by the way. So it's not fair that, you guys are taking it away from us. Now comes in the riots. So I think there's a lot in play where it comes to what was happening in Chiwempala. There might have been some other elements that we are not privy to or that we do not know of right now, but it is a very serious situation that the Minister of Mines should look at, as well as the local authorities, in terms of ensuring that the Jerabos are able to operate safely, and they're able to continue with their normal day-to-day activities of hustling.
Yeah, and to all the people who are currently watching us right now, for example, Brian Walia is requesting to join. So, in order for you to join, right, you've got two options. Number one, you can call us on the number on your screen that is +260-771-235966, or you can join us via StreamYard. So, if you want to have your video pop up here with us, you can just click on the link which is on the description. Is going to take you to StreamYard, which is obviously going to give you access to be part of this particular live stream yourself. But anyway, in case you are watching us and you would like to chip in, the number is on your screen, +260-771-235966. You can call us and you will be able to join in live. So now, Siku, getting back to Chingola, because what's happening in Chingola is setting precedents with regards to what is going to happen closer to 2026. As a lot of you already know, right? Chingola is a very hot seat, if I can put it that way, because number one, Mark II is going to be standing as an MP. He's obviously shown his intention to stand as an MP, and there has been a little bit of conflict of interest between the current member of parliament, who also happens to have a very high position with regards to the Ministry of Mines. So are we beginning to see, or rather have a foresight of what might happen if a lot of Zambian youths feel like they are not really getting their way? And do you think campaigning in Chingola has really started early? Because Nchanga is definitely going to be a hot seat. So what is your take as far as Chingola, the upcoming elections are concerned?
So Chingola is very interesting. So Chingola, Chidilabombwe, we saw really huge numbers from Chingola and Chidilabombwe, which were, kind of an upset to the PF back in 2021, because these were, Copperbelt was a stronghold, or was perceived to be a stronghold. And this is quite very interesting. You did mention Makitu officially declaring that he will stand he will contest as a member of parliament, or as a candidate for a member of parliament for Changa constituency. So now the current Changa constituency member of parliament is Honorable Derek Chilundika, who is the former Luapula minister. I think he he had a scandal of the shoe blight situation back. Should be 1 or 2 years ago, if not last year. I think he was dropped from his ministerial position as the minister of Luapula, and now he is just an MP. And then Chingola has got two constituencies, so it's Changa constituency and forgotten the other constituency, but the MP who is in the Chingola constituency rather, and the MP is Honorable Chipoka Mulenga, who is the Minister of Commerce. Now, this gentleman is usually with the president, and there have been some talks of him maybe, being the vice president come 2026, or him being groomed as the next presidential candidate for UPND after Hakainde Hichilemba's tenure. So now back to the issue of mines. So on the copper belt, generally, the UPND have lost points where it comes to mines. So in Kitwe, we had a famous dam site, which when the UPND came into power, they said make cooperatives, and youths make cooperatives, and then these cooperatives are going to be taking rotations in terms of accessing this dam site and being able to get their copper and make their money. So a lot of youths in Kitwe were not satisfied with how that played out, because it seems like, or most youths feel like, only UPND cadres really benefited from the dump site, which is popularly known as the Black Mountain. Now, if you come to Quito today and you look at where the Black Mountain was, you'll be like, so majority of the youths on the Copper Belt feel left out. They felt like they didn't have a piece of that pie. Now, Chingola was left with, it didn't see this action that Kitwe saw. So now, when the government came in after the accidents, I feel like, the Jeroboams there thought now they want to take over. So it is a very key area and it is a very sensitive topic, especially with the issue of mines, because we did see a couple of weeks ago, I think we have it on the Z Corner page, that the popular crazy singer Fimbao Pocket Digger did go on live talking about exposing what's happening at Mpani copper mines, exposing how Indians are coming in and getting contract business. And then he did also, bring out his displeasure with the current mines minister. So after that, now we see the riot. So it's either there are some people that are really not happy with the current mines minister, and there's a lot happening in the background because this seems to be a bit coordinated. And if the UPND lose Copperbelt's support and numbers, they really have to make it up elsewhere. And right now, it's quite hard to see where the wind will blow and see which areas will be strongholds for people. So I think the conversation around the mines is very big. There are issues of contractors complaining of not being paid, Zambians complaining of not being able to, they're not being picked as suppliers, and then there's the issues of Jeroboams. So right now, the Ministry of Mines seems to be a bit in a mess. And after that issue with Fimbao Poke, the mines ministers came in and said, well, local contractors are not really supplying quality products, and then when the investors say, okay, guys, these things that you're supplying is not of the standards of the quality that we want, what the minister is saying is that the contractors or some contractors do not want to take the product and bring the required quality of products. So there comes in now a tug of war of he said, she said, because now we don't really know exactly what's happening, and it seems like the minister is siding with the investors, and now it's starting to feel like, oh, these guys are not really supporting Zambians because it's like we're being attacked. And it's the same thing with the Chingola, Chiwempala situations where the local small-scale miners are saying, we want access to the dump site. We want access to the open pit so that we can, continue making ends living and whatnot. So it is quite a very make or break situation as we are heading into 2026. So I think there's a lot to talk about. That can be a topic on its own when it comes to what's happening with the Ministry of Mines and what's happening on the Copper Belt.
Oh, perfect. And Brian Wadia keeps on requesting for the number. So Brian Wadia, in case you're still watching us, the number is literally right on your screen. +260 771 235966. And it's also on the description of this particular post. In case you want to join us live, you can just give us a call and you are going to be able to give your 2 cents and your opinion. Anyhow, moving on to the next subject, let's talk about the new Zambian banknotes. They have already started, they're already in circulation as we speak right now, and people have had mixed reactions. So Siko, I just wanted to hear your opinion on the issuance of the new Zambian banknotes.
That one's been very interesting. The conversation has been so I'll be a bit controversial on this one because and make a bit of some controversial statements because I know Zambians as Zambians we don't like that, but I think where it comes to the political scene and governance, people have become petty because when you look at the things that people are bringing out, takuike, like you're like, okay, guys, we know this is the Zambian kwacha. It's written there, Zambian kwacha on the banknote. So yeah, I found that very funny, when reading people's reactions towards the changes that have been made on the banknotes. So for me, I thought some of the comments from the opposition parties were just being petty, and the most important thing I think is, why are we changing the banknotes? Understanding that, and then yeah, the government is saying, guys, we want to um, bring money back into circulation. We want to bring money back in the country, or people that are laundering money, people that stole money and kept the money in their houses. We want them to bring the money back in banks and in the hands of the Zambian people, which is a noble thing. That's what President Sata said, and the PF did when they came into power back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So there was a currency rebase. They were calling it rebasing, yeah, currency rebase, and we did see the change of the banknotes. And it was the whole fighting corruption. People that stole the money should bring back the money back into the economy. Those were the points that were being given. So if it happens to if the PF did it, what's stopping the UPND to do it? And I think the most important question that us Zambians should look at is the next party that's going to come in, right? Are they also going to wake up and say, guys, people stole in the UPND, we want to change the currency? So how do we find a permanent solution to put a stop to this changing of the banknotes? Because it seems like everybody now might come and give us a thing of, no, they were corrupt, and so now we want them to bring back the money, etc., etc. So I think that's for me, that's the biggest question that Zambians are not asking, is how do we say, let's be stable for the next 20, 50 years without changing our banknotes? How do we ensure that we do not have politicians come and tell us the same things over and over again? Each party that every 5 years, we change the 5 or 10 years, depending on the tenure of that government. We change the banknotes. But overall, I think they're beautiful. I was telling the people at home that I feel like I'm not doing anything, because now 2,000 kwacha can only be 4 notes, 500, 500, 500, 500. So 500 is 2,000 kwacha. It feels like you don't have anything. So yeah,
Definitely.
the beautiful notes. I think.
No, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so they're beautiful notes, and also for me, another feature that just sold me with these banknotes is the issue of Braille. So the Bank of Zambia has added a component where blind people are able to differentiate and know what note what note it is. So I think that was cool. I think that was very inclusive and very
Mhm.
thoughtful. So there, give the Bank of Zambia a really big thumbs up because it's a section of society that has been protected. Now they know the amounts of money they have. Now they can count their money regardless of their disability. So I think that's a big win for the Bank of Zambia, and kudos to whoever came up with that suggestion and said, guys, let's do this for the blind people and people that can't see. Let's put the Braille component. So that's for me is a seller. Then the issue of the removing the freedom statue and the adding Ngombele Day, I don't know how to feel about that, because feel it's time we're free. Like my kids will never know what slavery is. I never knew what slavery is, so I won't be able to tell them and say, hey guys, slavery was hard. Like, we're free. So I think it's okay to change the different symbolic instruments or symbols that hold, we hold dear as Zambians. So it's just maybe unfortunate that the Ngombele Day is something that's based in Southern Province, and the president is from Southern Province, so it can be deemed a bit tribal and whatnot. But I don't want to lean in too much into the whole tribal aspect and whatnot. I just feel like the story and the conversation should change. Yes, we're free. We're free. Our kids,
Yeah,
their
and
kids, their kids.
just to add on to that particular point, Siku, sorry for cutting you off before I lose my thoughts. Yeah, you raise a very important and powerful point, right? At this particular moment, we are supposed to be thinking ahead and just basically embracing the things that really make us unique. So if you take a look at things like in Ombele, right, even though people are being very trivial and just stooping so low with regards to relating it to tribalism because the president is from Southern Province. I really believe that in Ombele there is something which empowers our mindset, because most of the times when we think about our history as Black people, as indigenous Africans, right, we're mostly reminded about colonialism, slavery, and how disenfranchised we are. So it's very important for us to start imprinting our great history in the minds of people that are currently going to be taking key positions and people who are around at this particular moment. So if you talk about Ingombe Lede and what it represents, where it's coming from, it really shows us a very good opportunity in terms of growth and where we can go as a nation, because most of the times we're always being bombarded with bad things that happened to us in the past. So in Ombele, is something which is very, very empowering. So I wouldn't even understand why people might relate that to tribalism.
Definitely, definitely. And like I said, for me, I felt most of the comments that were coming in were a bit petty. And the only thing, like I said, that I felt affected was I felt broke. I was like, yo, hey, like, hey, it's this money. And then the other aspect, what people are complaining about is that the money is short. The length of the notes, and then the smaller notes to the higher notes, there's a difference in terms of the length. So, like I said again, I think that's a petty thing. That's something that we can easily adjust to. The design does one thing I will say that I found like just put me off a bit. The designs felt copied. When you look at the South African rand, when you look at the Nigerian naira, when you look at our new design, it kind of has some of those components to the design. So kind of seems a bit copied from some other currencies. I think I did also see another note, should have been something from Saudi Arabia, but somewhere in the Middle East, and that was the only thing that I thought, okay, we needed something more Zambian. I don't know. I was expecting something green, like I was expecting a green or something, red, black, orange, like we needed them rich and standing out, representing us as a people, because we've got a flag, and the flag has the different meanings, the green vegetation, the red and blah 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 blah. So I think the coloring of our notes is something that just put me a bit off, but it's something that I can live with.
Definitely. And a lot of people are neglecting the fact that the security feature has also been enhanced. I remember you also talked about inclusion, Braille being introduced, meaning blind people are able to count their money, etc. So most of the times here in Zambia, when it comes to a lot of progressive moves, right, we always have a way of watering it down to the level of pettiness, if I can put it that way. So this is one of the reasons why sometimes, even though a move can be very productive and very progressive, most of the times the voices in society, especially the people who understand how to create a narrative, a lot of times they usually love, denouncing the progressive effects of such moves. Um, anyway, it is what it is. This is what we're dealing with on a daily basis. Hopefully, people will get accustomed to the new currency notes. And just like you talked about, right, the notes are a little bit shorter, so people will most likely have to buy new wallets, which is also another expense, by the way. Anyhow, Siku, we also have a few other topics that we would love to talk about, especially when it comes to things that have been happening with regards to a lot of sentiments in society, with regards to uh, you know the economy, because the economy has been affected. We do experience, and we have experienced a lot of inflation since 2020, which stems from world economic forces affecting our currency. Just like you already know, right? Zambia relies mostly on the dollar, and whatever happens in the United States of America, right? We especially African countries tend to get affected. So in 2020, there was a lot of quantitative easing, a lot of dollars were printed. So if a lot of dollars were printed in America and Zambia happens to hold most of our assets in dollars, right? We're obviously going to experience a lot of inflation. So, do you perhaps think this is one of the reasons why GRZ definitely had to introduce higher notes? Because the lower note, the 100 kwacha, which was the highest note that we had, right? It was no longer able to buy us significant amount of things. If you look at most of the prices for a lot of commodities, they have really skyrocketed. I was comparing the price of a loaf of bread in comparison to about 2-3 years ago, right? Obviously, there has been a dramatic change. A loaf of bread right now in Zambia costs about 26 kwacha. A few years back, it was costing around 18 kwacha, 16 kwacha, etc. So perhaps, do you think inflation also has a key role with regards to the move that the Bank of Zambia made with regards to introducing of the new banknotes?
I think it's obviously when you go on a deeper or in a deeper economic conversation, definitely that can be one of the reasons why they had to introduce the 500 kwacha, and we have the new notes. So basically, we have, when you talk about inflation, right? Our food inflation is what's very high right now in Zambia. And just a little bit of some information: the World Bank has ranked Zambia eighth among African countries with the highest food inflation as of May 2024, with a rate of 16.2%. Now, this is quite high, and like I said, this is food inflation, and that's why most of the commodities that we're seeing. Like we mentioned, the loaf of bread. We mentioned the price of milli meal, which is the hey, Zambians don't play with Zambians and then Shima. So I feel like we need to start as Zambians understanding what's happening. Right now, we are in a war period. Yes, we're in a war period, and the war might not be the usual normal war that we know, where people are fighting with guns and killing themselves, but it's an economical war right now. So look at America. Trump came in and said, "Hey guys, we're gonna make America great again. What am I gonna do? China tariffs, Canada tariffs, UK tariffs, Mexico tariffs, and then these guys are also now retaliating. Ah, guy, we're going to add tariffs as well. America, we're going to tariff you. Now, as a small player, Zambia, who is, a baby, who highly depends on America. We talked about how the US dollar affects our economy. Uh, what are we understanding what's happening globally in relation to what's happening in Zambia? What's the trickle down effect with the trade wars that are currently happening? And if we're able to understand this, we'll be able to now choose. I think we'll be able to properly choose which leaders are currently telling us the truth on what they're going to do. So the UPND government said we're going to improve the economy, but the current what's happening, the current forces and factors can't allow the UPND to improve our economy because there are things that are just unexpected. The Russia-Ukraine war, unexpected, still carrying on. The trade wars that are happening, and we are just now getting, the ripple effect of it. So it's really an interesting conversation that I feel Zambians we should take more interest in and understand and say, okay, guys, so if America hikes the tariffs for China, and China does the same to America, how does that affect us? So I don't know if you read the paper, the Copper Queens, which Polo Polo should be going to China for a friendly, if I'm not mistaken. So four players that are based in America. So obviously these are the Barbara Bandas, Grace Chanda, Priska Chilupia, and then another fourth player. Because of the bans that are happening, they can't come to Zambia or they can't go to China. So they've been excluded from that match. Now, this is just a small example on how what's happening between America and China and the rest of the world is affecting Zambia. Now, imagine on an economic scale. So I think every day when I have conversations with people, I always say this: we need to understand how the global economics are affecting us and how we can properly handle and safeguard ourselves to ensure that we obviously are going to get affected, but we, instead of getting affected 100%, would rather be affected 40%, 50%, maybe. So yeah, I think this is, if I were given the opportunity and to talk to a Christian nation and tell God, please, let change my people in this certain way. I think these are the things that we need politicians telling us on TVs. We don't need to be watching Why Me insulting President HH. We need to hear Binwell, Christopher Kangombe, Jack Mwimbu, Gary Nkombo talking about world economics and educating us on how we are being affected by these trade wars that are happening.
Exactly. And speaking about the trade wars, right? So we are obviously going to be collateral damage, for lack of a better word. And as you can see right now on the screen, Zambia has been given a 17% tariff hike, if I can put it that way. So now the question stands: how much does this affect Zambia? And how much do we export to the United States of America? So when you talk about the trickle down effect, right? Everything that happens everywhere gets to affect us. And like you clearly put it, right? Zambia is a landlocked country. We import a lot of stuff from China. China is one of the strongest manufacturers in the world. So if they experience a tariff hike, right? Obviously, a lot of goods and services are going to end up, being high, and we're definitely going to feel it. So these are the market conditions that really make it hard for UPND to seem very successful when it comes to ruling Zambia, because UPND has been elected at a very crucial moment in our history due to the fact that there has been a lot of things externally affecting them. Talk about the Ukrainian war, talk about these tariff hikes, talk about a lot of different stuff. COVID, obviously the effects of COVID, took a little bit of time in order for the world to face the problems that arose during that particular era. But UPND is definitely going to be ruling us, or they are ruling us, when these bad things are going to take effect. And what's going to happen to the sentiments of the local people? They're obviously going to blame the UPND, when in fact it's obviously as a result of world economics, playing a key role, and them just being implemented at this particular moment. So do you perhaps think we've got a way to turn around the narrative? How best do you think we can sort of get out of this particular mess as a country, and what type of mentality are we supposed to have, especially on an individual level?
Now that's where we as Zambians need to rise up. We need to. I like the likes of Dumisani Nkube who says Africa must think, So I would want to remove the Africa part and take a leaf off Trump's book and say Zambia must think, because now we need locally based solutions. We need Zambians to thrive in the business space. We need Zambians to come up with innovations and ideas that are for Zambia and are solving Zambian problems. And then now, if we have an economy that's entirely run by Zambians, we are going to, we're going to be in a better position. We're going to have more bargaining chips where it comes to our role in the world trade and the economics. If we keep on expecting other people to come in and swoop in and say, hey, we're going to do this A, B, C, and D for you. We're going to, we're going to go back in the still. We're always going to be crying and saying, no, Tapuri development, etc., because now we're in a place where Zambians can work together. Zambians can put their money together. We've got Zambians in the diaspora that have got access to certain things that Zambians in Zambia do not have. And then, us Zambians that are in Zambia now can drive and ensure that our economy runs based on the solutions that we are solving, the problems that we're solving, the solutions that we're bringing up. So we need to champion production, manufacturing. We need to ensure that Zambian-owned businesses are leading in the market. We need to start exporting goods that we're producing outside to our neighboring countries than to the world. So as long as we have a relaxed mentality, I think we're not going to go anywhere. And that's why Trump is a huge wake-up call to Zambia, to Africa, and to the rest of the world. Now we have to say, guys, let's be patriotic. Instead of being entrepreneurs and going to government tenders and hiking the fees and saying, this is what this costs, and then getting money from the Zambian treasury just for us to waste it on cars, alcohol, and whatever. We need to now be serious and be patriotic and say, let's lead the future and ensure that Zambians are running the economy. Now, in our description, we do have Simon Moralen television there. Now, he's a gentleman that of late he's been posting some interesting things. So he's been saying most buildings in the CPD are not owned, very few buildings are owned by Zambians. So imagine CBDs in Zambia and the amount of ownership that we have when it comes to these buildings, just shows us that we do not run our economy. That shows us we don't have ownership towards major things infrastructure wise. So, like I said, I think it's a wake up call for us to start being patriotic, putting Zambia first. It's a wake up call to start to be unified, unity, work together with people. And it's a wake up call for us to learn what exactly our problems are and just ensure that we, solve them.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking about Zambians being in charge and basically running our own economy, right? Sometimes what really puts us off is due to the fact that there's a lot of bureaucracy. Believe you me, there's a lot of Zambians who've got innovative ideas. They've got, breakthrough ideologies. But the thing is, it's very difficult to get to do a lot of things here in Zambia from a paper perspective, from a jurisdiction perspective, and from also a regulatory perspective. You see, the thing about Zambia is it's very difficult for local people to participate because they make the barrier of entry so high that it's very difficult for ordinary Zambians with limited capital to participate. Let me give you a very practical example about the mines. You see, as much as we are endowed with a lot of mineral resources. There's a lot of opportunity in terms of the mining sector, right? It's very difficult for local people to get the actual certifications in order for them to conduct their mining. You know, it's difficult to get an artisan mining license, a small scale mining license, or any type of license. And besides that, there's other certificates, licenses that you need to get in order for you to operate in the mining sector. You need ZEMA, you need A, B, C, D. So the thing about Zambians not being able to participate is due to the fact that there's a lot of constraints. There's a lot of hurdles that we need to overcome. And this is one of the reasons why it would be very helpful if the government would implement specific policies to sort of stimulate this particular breakthrough, or rather transition, to happen. Because in as much as you are very youthful, very vibrant, and you really want to participate and you want to bring about the change, if the policies do not favor you as an individual, especially with limited capital, you are definitely going to find, or rather, you're definitely going to have a very hard time making whatever change needs to be made. Because even when it comes to running a company, right, there's so many rules that you're supposed to follow, so many regulations that you have to adhere to, and it just makes it so difficult for us to sort of, help our country grow. And this is one of the reasons why, if you take a look at places like Lusaka, right, you're going to find that there's a lot of Indians running a lot of businesses. There's a lot of foreigners because they've got capital. So this is one of the reasons why it's very important for us to understand the root cause of the problem. Why are Zambians not participating? What's hindering them? Is it the policies? Is it the lack of intentions? Or maybe it's because of the way that we're running the regulatory process.
I do very much agree with you, and that's why I think I used a very important term, which is patriotic. So currently, who makes the laws in terms of, are they Zambian, non-Zambian? It's Zambians, right?
Well, right.
That means by we elect members of parliament to go and debate laws and policies and whatnot, and so these are the Zambians. So we assume they do that when we elect them, and the process takes its course, right? So obviously, I do understand how certain things work, but like I said, if we are patriotic, starting with the people in power, the people in government, the people in the civil service, the people in the offices that need to do the work. If everybody does what they're supposed to do to ensure that we make Zambia great, and unfortunately, I don't know if we can say make Zambia great again, because I don't know if we've been great at some point. But if we're able to make Zambia, we need to everybody to play a key role. Now, this starts with what the president, the current president, has been championing. And what has he said? He said no to corruption. Because the bureaucracy mostly is because wheels want to be greased, or people want their wheels to be greased. And that's because of selfishness. And so the president has said, if you're corrupt, hey, yeah, it doesn't matter who you are, and that's what everybody's thinking might have happened to Gary Nkombo, because there are issues of ambulances, there are issues of contracts being awarded, and etc. etc. So
Allegedly.
and all this is speculation. Yeah, allegedly, yeah, all this is speculation, by the way. If that is the case, then the president is walking his saying, when he says you're on your own, he means you're on your own. We did see, for example, in Sulawesi, council workers that did not declare interest, they got a tender and supplied some things, not, declaring interest, because the company that was awarded, they were actually shareholders. They were arrested by ACC, and they're out on bail. They've got court cases. So we're seeing this fight against corruption, and it shows the willingness to do great for our country by the current president, that's President Hakainde Hichilema. So now it's not only him who has to make this fight, because I think every Zambian or most Zambian citizens, if I say every Zambian citizen, maybe I will be unfair to the little ones, the babies, that are unable to do any corrupt issues. Um, we, we are perpetrators, we're culprits. We're culprits to corruption because, one way or another, if somebody won't suggest that they want to be paid, we'll suggest there's something that we'll do, that we want something to be done fast, So mindset change. We need to join hand in hand with the president and fight corruption. And then now we need to lead a pro Zambian movement. Right now there's this whole issue of youth movement, Shani, and I'm thinking, okay, youth movement is great, but what exactly do we want? What do we expect these youths that we want to put in these offices to do? Because we clearly don't know the policies that we need that are beneficial for us Zambians. We clearly don't know what most of us haven't read the Zambian constitution. Most of us didn't even know that the constitution was amended in 2016. And now the UPND wants to amend the constitution. And we're like, wait, why are you amending the constitution before election? Forgetting that the previous constitution amendment was 4 months before elections. And now UPND is amending 16 months before the elections, and they're asking us, the Zambian people, to participate. And they are telling us and say, this is what we want to amend, And so there's like I said, the key component for me is patriotism. We lack patriotism. That's why we're not really going, ahead as a country. And very few people are, trying to fight for Zambia. And if few people are fighting for Zambia, we're not really going to do much because the weight is too much. That's just idle and it's just there. So I think everybody needs to play their role, from the school-going kids to the parents, guardians, to the people in offices, civil servants, the private sector. Everybody, if we do the right thing, I think this is something that we can easily change and put ourselves on the right trajectory.
I definitely agree, and I really believe that the youths and the population at large play a key role with regards to being precise about what we want. Sometimes the reason why a lot of these policies are not changed is because we're not really vocal enough to be specific about the specific amendments when it comes to empowering Zambian youth. Because most of the times, a lot of these politicians use keywords such as youth empowerment. But really, what does youth empowerment mean? How do you get to empower us on a level where we have certain privileges with regards to participating and improving the Zambian economy? You get my point. So this is one of the reasons why this time around, right, we have to be very specific about the changes that we want. It's better for us to pinpoint and have a bullet point of amazing policies that need to be changed that affect the youths. Right now, the biggest conversation is constitutional amendment with regards to youth participation, women, and the differently abled. Those policies will definitely play a key role with regards to where we want, but we also have to look at the bigger picture in terms of youth participation, especially when it comes to the economy. Just like I told you, right? How about we sort of change the policies regarding mining and how Zambian citizens participate when it comes to, the mining industry? If we lessen the bureaucracy and we are very specific and precise about the type of action that needs to be implemented and how directly it's going to benefit the citizens of Zambia, then we're definitely going to be heading towards the right direction. Because a lot of these proclamations that are made as far as policy changes concerned, right, a lot of them are loopholes for foreign investors to get away with certain stuff. So this is one of the reasons why the youths have to be very specific and say, look, we want policies that directly, not indirectly, that directly affect us. And if we tell them what we want, right, we should hold them accountable. After a few years, we go back to the drawing board. What did you do about this particular problem? Right now, we're still experiencing load shedding, right? We obviously heard a lot of good stuff about how load shedding is going to end, etc. But it's been a few years and we're still experiencing load shedding. Load shedding is affecting the way the economy runs. A lot of lives have been disrupted. A lot of businesses have been shut down, etc. So this is one of the reasons why I really believe this time around, when elections do come back, or rather when elections come, we are supposed to hold people accountable. You said A, B, C, D. What was the problem? Why wasn't it delivered? How can we improve? Why should we trust you that you're going to work on this, provided we re-elect you? This is, I think, the problem that a lot of Zambians youths have. We are not very precise and specific about the changes that we want.
Definitely, definitely. So, with the youth movement should be really, we should really highlight what exactly we want, what exactly we expect, and we should know, or at least have an idea of what it takes to implement these changes that we are asking for. It's not just a matter of somebody saying we need youths in parliament. We can have youths, but still, if they're not going to deliver, what's the whole purpose? If they're not going to ensure that they vote for the right policies, they make the right changes, then what's the point? I think 2026 is a very crucial year. It's a very, it should be a year of, we should change how we do our politics. And it's unfortunate right now. I am very disappointed with the current crop of politicians. Most, not all of them, most. There are some guys that are really, once when they speak, you can tell they've got a really good head on their shoulders. For example, Christopher Kavombe, each time he's rising up, he's bringing up emotion and he's debating. You can tell that he's not really debating from a point of view of loyal to this party, is debating from a point of view of I'm loyal to the Zambian people. And this is what I feel most politicians, most MPs should do. They should be first loyal to Zambia, the country, the Zambian people, then the political party. Because now we're seeing politicians just say things because they want to, because they're loyal to a certain individual or a certain group of people, which is a political party. So I hope 2026, we're going to have more informative conversations. We need to learn new things. So, Honorable Kappa did did raise a motion this year about the hauling industry, that's the online taxis. This is something that is new in Zambia. It's not more than 10 years, So obviously rules and regulations have to be created. The policies that we're talking about have to ensure that the companies that either are being formed in Zambia or that are coming to Zambia to invest in these businesses actually are not putting the Zambian citizens, Zambian entrepreneurs at a disadvantage. And these are things that people need to discuss because these are new things that are coming. We're talking about AI. We've got amazing places like Bongo Hive that have got companies in Zambia, Zambian companies that are creating AI-based solutions for the agriculture space, and we're seeing a lot of revolution where it comes to the mining sector. There's Mungomba, I think there's a company called Mungomba, and the take that they have, their mining company, is amazing. It's brilliant. I think I visited them when I was going attending one of the agriculture shows on the Copper Belt, and they have the virtual headsets, and I experienced being underground in my VR headsets and just looking at the AI technology that they're using now in mining. So AI is a very new conversation when it comes to the Zambian space. So it's going to need regulation. It's going to need a lot of understanding. So now these are the conversations that we're talking about that we need to highlight, and see politicians tell us, oh, what's the way forward with AI? What's the way forward with this that's coming in? So those are just a few things that I can mention off the top of my head, and these are things that for me I'm very passionate about, because there are very few politicians that will come on, well, that we're going to watch on our TVs or on Facebook, and they're talking about these progressive conversations. They would rather talk about balance that the bank have sold in 14 hours dollar yapona, not really telling us what they are going to come and do for the Zambian people. So yeah, there's I feel like it's gonna be an interesting year run towards 2026. And 2026, I feel like a lot of young people know what they want. And I feel like if the UPND get this right, I think, and this is just like on a lighter note, and if they monetize social media, then we're gonna vote for them.
Yeah, definitely. And if you talk about social media monetization, right? Obviously, it's
Mhm.
one way that youths can get to make money. So we do have a few MPs who raise such points, and just like you talked about, right? There's a lot of different aspects where we can grow as a nation, and obviously where youths can participate. Because if you talk about revolutionary breakthroughs such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., these are the new industries that are emerging that we can take advantage of and just basically be able to own. Because this is obviously a new industry, and there's a lot of different opportunities that we can get to capitalize from, especially if we become proactive in these new emerging industries. And unfortunately, most of the times we're just talking about very irrelevant topics or conversations, which is very, very unfortunate.
Yeah, would rather watch why me do an hour live and insulting and just using vulgar language. So that is, shows the caliber or the level of the majority Zambian citizens. So that is something that should be very, we should all be concerned as Zambians, and we should see how we should hold our leaders to book, because these are people that we are electing. They're not doing this out of charity. They're getting paid. They're getting money. They're getting allowances. They're getting food. Whenever they're at government motel and whatnot. So they're not really doing us a favor, because there's this issue of this is just my observation, because people feel like politician comes, you see women sleeping on the but like, yes, you can have admiration for a leader if they're especially doing a good thing, but we should start taking ownership and say, guy, we employed you, we put you in this position, you're getting rich, you're getting money, what are you doing back?
Yeah, definitely. And talking about the IQ of voters, right? Do you believe we do have a few provinces which could shape the narrative, or rather the direction of elections? Let me explain what I mean. We've got Copperbelt, Lusaka, and some other few provinces that seemingly have a very high population that is obviously middle income level type of households. So, do these types of provinces affect the quality of leadership that we have in comparison to places where there isn't a lot of economic activities, etc, therefore the level of education is slightly on the lower end, and so on and so forth? So how do big provinces from an economic perspective shape the quality of leaders that we have?
That's a very interesting question. If I understood it correctly, I think my answer would be, firstly, we are, when you talk about big provinces, we'll highlight two, Copperbelt and Lusaka. So these are big provinces that are got a huge population. These are big provinces that are expected. Their leaders. We have most activities happening on the Copper Belt, economic as well as social, as well as Lusaka. So I think it's very important that remember when the president came into office and he was doing his regular back then media briefings, he used to talk about people going back to their villages, not everybody going to Lusaka, you know? So that already puts you in the mindset of the president saying that he wants um, development to go across all parts of the country, all provinces, constituencies, wards, because people shouldn't just only stay in Lusaka or the Copper Belt, because people can actually go back once they learn. Let's say, most people go to school they think the best schools are in Lusaka or the Copper Belt. They come here or Northwestern, instead of growing roots there and saying, no, we're going until the end of the world, you go back to where you came from. And why that is important, like I said, you take a certain level of development back home because you saw how things were being done. Let's say infrastructure. When you look at the malls around, the businesses in Lusaka, you can look at your area and say, okay, this and this can work here and whatnot. So that trickles down. And then also, just like I said, information and skills and knowledge you take back to your constituencies, to your areas. So it is very important for us to start having this conversation on how the big provinces shape the growth of other provinces, because these other provinces are not going to grow if everybody just keeps on going to Copper Belt or Lusaka or Northwestern, because Northwestern has the most recent mines. So yeah, I think answering your question, that is my submission.
Yeah, and that also brings me to the issue of what is it, delimitation of constituencies? I hope I'm getting that right. Basically, uh, deciphering and increasing the number of constituencies in a particular area. So, if you talk about the economic migration of Zambian citizens, right? Obviously, people gravitate to areas where they have a better opportunity in terms of growth. And this is one of the reasons why, of late, we have been seeing Northwestern Province receive an influx of citizens from across Zambia, because Northwestern Province recently had an economic boom due to the fact that a lot of new mines were opened in Northwestern Province. And people usually tend to do that. If you talk about most developed countries such as the United States of America, right? Obviously, a lot of people are concentrated in certain levels, or rather certain cities where there is a lot of economic activities, therefore giving them more opportunities to better their lives. So it's just a natural progression of human evolution, because we obviously tend to gravitate towards areas and places that give us better opportunities. Anyhow, without any further ado, I guess we've had this conversation for the past 1 hour, 17 minutes. And yeah, my lips are even getting dry. So I think we should be concluding it right over here, and we should be ending it. So, Siku, give us your closing remarks.
It's been an interesting conversation. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to unpack, because this is the future of our country, this is the future of our kids and their kids. So this is very important. And on the constitution amendment, we really need to take time to understand it as individuals. Don't just read something and take it as the Bible or gospel truth. Understand it from your perspective. Talk about delimitation. Talk about what are the pros and what are the cons. So the pros are development is going to be decentralized. So there's going to be faster and quicker development where it comes to some constituencies, because there's going to be a breakdown. Those that are too big, there's going to be a breakdown, and there are going to be new constituencies, and then they're going to have their own budget. Then what's the con? The con is we're going to have more civil servants employed, more MPs. The cost on the treasury is going to be high. So we get to look at it and say, okay, which one outweighs the other? Do the pros outweigh the con? Does the con? Then you make your decision on such topics. So even as we head towards 2026, for me, I think it's very important that we keep on having these conversations, and that people that have even more knowledge than we have do join and participate by calling us. The number is there, as well as they can request to be a part of the video. So I think until next time, those are my comments.
All right, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was accompanied by Sikufele. You have been watching Z Corner TV, and we are going to be doing these live streams. I think every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and hopefully Saturday. So, depending on the participation and the response that we're going to get, we're obviously going to be adjusting a few things here and there. And it's been a minute since we did, these live streams, so we're a little bit rusty, me to be precise. But anyway, we're going to continue improving, and with your support and comments, we're obviously going to improve in a very positive direction. So that's all we had for you. Talk to you a little bit later. In case you've got any other questions, contributions, and recommendations, you can always reach out to us via our Facebook page, YouTube, email. All the links are definitely going to be in the description box below. So thank you to all the live viewers that we had. You guys were obviously very supportive. So thank you, take care, and see you very soon.